Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream, for your attention, and of course, many thanks to all the members of our community who will join later on this stream or will watch your video afterwards. Today is 4th of May. Now it's 11 o'clock in the morning, Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, and I hope you'll find this episode informative and useful. And I should mention that I received one question through Patreon from a member of our Patreon community, and I will answer to that question after news segment. If there will be any comments or the questions that members of community want to be highlighted during the stream, either through support platforms on PayPal, Boosty, or during on Rumble as a super chatter, of course, I will highlight that question or the comment also after news segment. Okay, that's being said, dear friends, let's start today's live stream. And the first news that I want to share with you is this one from RIA Novosti about Crimean Bridge. So traffic on Crimean Bridge is proceeding as usual. According to RIA Novosti, this was reported by the Russian Ministry of Transport on its Telegram channel. And I'm beginning this stream with this news because yesterday, as many of you already, I guess, know, there was a attack on Crimean Bridge. Early in the morning, a number of Telegram channels reported that Ukrainian drone was shot down over the bridge. And such an occasion only happened year before when literally in close proximity from the bridge was an aerial target intercepted. And a year before that was the ATACMS, US-made ATACMS missile. Yesterday, reports were about a Ukrainian aircraft-type drone that was intercepted over the bridge early in the morning. But because big channels, big Telegram channels or media outlets didn't report about it, I did not share that information. I was waiting for some more news, and later on, after yesterday's stream, Telegram channels start sharing video that was originated from Kiev regime, as far as I understand, with explosion under the bridge. I guess Kiev regime used, with assistance of UK, of course, used its underwater drone. And right now on your screen, you see this video, by the way, explosion. It was not a huge explosion that is capable of destroying a bridge big time, but potentially this kind of explosion can damage a bridge, obviously. And there was a minor damage done according to reports. Let's see once again this explosion. So yeah, that was an explosion, by the way. And there are many Telegram channels reported that most likely Kiev regime used their underwater drone, maritime drone, to strike the bridge. And later on yesterday, reports start coming in that additional maritime drones were destroyed by Russian forces. Lancet drone was used for that purpose, and maybe Russian side will adopt deployment of Lancet drones against these maritime drones, because it seems like they are quite effective mean to neutralize this target. So that is the information in regards to Crimean Bridge. Traffic was stopped yesterday twice, early in the morning and in the afternoon, I believe. But later on, bridge start operating as usual. Yet another terrorist attack of Kiev regime, and this is clearly a terrorist attack because as many members of our community know, and even Western media outlets are acknowledging, Russia is not really using this bridge as a logistical mean to transfer any weapons or munition into Crimea, for example. There is a land bridge, massive land bridge from mainland Russia to Crimea. You can see on your screen right now, and therefore there is no need to use for military purposes Crimean bridge. But nevertheless, because of the, let's say, PR significance for Kiev regime of such terrorist attacks, they continue time and time again to strike this bridge. Obviously, this attack was conducted with the involvement of United Kingdom's military personnel, security services, because all these operations on the southern sectors are overseen by British intelligence and militaries, including maritime activity with these drones. And I don't know when and how, but I guess at some point Russia will have no option but to take some retaliatory strikes on time of its choosing. And citizens of UK, if anything, should be angry for that on their own government that is basically on daily basis conducting acts of war against Russia. That's how it is, basically. So yes, bridge is operating as usual right now, but of course there is no guarantees that London and the Kiev regime will not conduct additional strikes against this bridge or any other civilian infrastructure in Russia. That's what they do on regular basis. Let's continue with this news from RIA Novosti that several group of forces of the Russian Federation liberated Andreevka settlement in the Sumy region. As I reported earlier in previous updates, Russian armed forces conducting local-scale offensive operations in many areas of the front line, and one of the areas is, of course, a Sumy region where buffer zone is created quite actively and rapidly, I will say. And this is settlement of Andreevka, by the way, which is under full Russian control now. And according to latest reports, Russian troops are advancing in settlement of Malaya Karchakovka, and potentially before end of this day, this settlement will be under full Russian control also. Although let's wait and see how situation will develop. But advance of Russian troops in the Sumy region to create a buffer zone is definitely quite impressive, and I guess it will take maybe a week or two, and Russian troops will reach this forestry area. All the settlements north of this massive forestry will be liberated by Russian troops, and then I guess it will take another several weeks, maybe even months, to clear this forestry area from the enemy forces. And after this massive forest, there is a Sumy, several settlements, and then Sumy city itself. Some reports are suggesting that Russian troops might actually bypass this forestry and advance towards Sumy from western side, possibility for sure. And some reports are suggesting that at the same time Russian troops might conduct a similar sort of pincer movement in Kharkov direction also. But yet again, I'm not a military expert, and therefore I don't really have a strong opinion on that. It's up to Russia's general staff, obviously, how they will conduct military operations. But clearly, Russian troops are advancing all along the front line, and this advance is especially noticeable in the Sumy region, in the Kharkov region, in DPR, obviously, where Russian troops are advancing literally on daily basis and improving positions in Pokrovsk, Mirnograd area on the northern eastern side of this agglomeration. And also on the southwestern side, where Russian troops basically already are on several sectors on the border with Dnipropetrovsk region, and it's only a matter of order from Moscow, and Russian troops probably will cross border and begin liberating people and their settlements in Dnipropetrovsk region too. That's been said, dear friends. Let's go through some other news that are making headlines here in Russia. And RIA Novosti is also reporting that, well, allegedly, Kiev did not notify Trump, president of US, about attacks on Russian strategical airfields. This was stated by White House. Let's go through some details here. So, Ukraine did not warn US President Donald Trump about attacks on Russian airfields. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stated, we have a quote from her. He was not, she said, when asked whether Trump had been informed in advance by Kiev authorities. The day before, Leavitt was asked to talk about the American leader's reaction to what happened. The head of the White House, according to her, said that this war must be put to an end. So no reaction for now from Trump, and obviously none of us and hardly anybody in this world really believes that Trump was uninformed about this combined US, UK, Ukraine attack on Russian strategical airfields. This is just impossible to believe that Trump did not know about it. He knew about it and he authorized this attack, and same was done by Prime Minister of UK, Keir Starmer. This is a million%, by the way. There can be no doubts about that. And it is unfortunate. What can I say? It is unfortunate that instead of truly de-escalating with Russia, Trump and his administration, the so-called America First people, lied not just to Americans, by the way, but they lied to rest of the world, and they lied to Russian side also during several rounds of talks between US and Russian delegations when representatives of Washington were making statements that they are all about de-escalation and stuff. No, they are not, by the way. And at this point, I guess this is just way too clear to have any doubts about that. I can imagine how disappointed many US citizens are with this administration. Definitely more than me. That's for sure, right? Because after all, it's a US that being put in harm's way due to criminal terrorist activity of their political military leadership. It is what it is, and of course, many people worldwide are wondering how Russia will respond on these attacks on its nuclear triad. Until now, there was no statements from Kremlin, from President of Russia, about these attacks. But today, he will have a meeting with the Russian government. Topic of discussion is some economical stuff, I believe. But maybe during this meeting, Russian president will address these attacks on Russian strategical airfields. We will find out. And of course, if any update on that, I will share additional information on my Telegram and Twitter X page and during the next video updates, next live stream. But what we have for now is a reaction from Medvedev, former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council. I can go through some of his statements in this regards. And for example, he said that Russian retaliation is inevitable. So Russia will inevitably respond to recent Ukrainian attacks on its territory, despite continuing diplomatic efforts to reach a peaceful settlement of the conflict. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev stated on Tuesday. His comments follow suspected acts of Ukrainian sabotage on railways in Russia and drone strikes on multiple Russian airfields at the weekend. Despite this, Russian officials traveled to Istanbul on Monday for another round of direct negotiations with Ukrainian representatives. In a social media post, Medvedev addressed domestic calls for a more forceful military response, declaring that Russian retaliation was inevitable. We have a quote from Medvedev: "Our army is on an active offensive and will continue its push forward. Everything that needs to be blown up will be, and those who need to be eliminated will be," he wrote. Medvedev, who currently serves as a deputy chair of Russia's Security Council, said Istanbul negotiations were necessary for our victory to be most swifter and the full elimination of their neo-Nazi authorities in Kiev. This is a response from Medvedev, by the way, who is also a high-ranking official. He is deputy chairman of the Security Council, former Russian president, and who knows, maybe future Russian president. Theoretically, that might be a possibility also. But obviously, everybody is expecting statements from Russian president, current president, Vladimir Putin. And as I said, maybe today during the meeting with the government, with the cabinet, he will make some statements. Clearly a possibility. But meanwhile, dear friends, we have this report that Pentagon chief to skip Ukraine aid contact group meeting for the first time, reported by TASS, and originally this information was published by Associated Press. Let's go through some details here. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pat Hexet will skip a meeting of an international group to coordinate military aid to Ukraine for the first time since its creation 3 years ago. Associated Press reported, citing an anonymous U.S. officials. It has become a kind of usual practice, isn't it, when almost every information is based on some anonymous sources and we just never know, is this information true or not? We just have to guess. And in this particular case, we are in exactly that situation. Who knows, maybe Associated Press is correct, maybe no. We will find out soon. According to source of this news agency, the Pentagon chief will not be present during the meeting due to Brussels scheduled in Brussels on Wednesday, today. His participation in their video conference format is also not expected. Their agency described the move as their latest in the series of Washington steps to distance itself from the conflict in Ukraine. Well, agency definitely is wrong in this regards because US just a couple of days ago orchestrated attack on Russia's nuclear Triad together with the United Kingdom and their proxy Kiev regime. So therefore, US is not distancing itself from this conflict. It's exactly the opposite. Clearly, US is getting involved in this proxy war against Russia in more and more, right? And the actions of the US and its allies, its NATO allies, are becoming extremely dangerous, not just for Russia, but for the entire world, because yet again, they are crossing now red lines that are attack on nuclear Triad is. They are crossing now red lines that are like some time ago, no one would even think about that is possible, right? So extremely dangerous developments, obviously, and I'm afraid involvement of US in this war against Russia will only increase, at least for time being, and Washington and other hostile capitals in the collective West will only really start de-escalating with Russia after they will finally realize that Russia has won and they have no chances to achieve strategical defeat of Russian Federation as their dream about and they're stated many times in publicly. Right, so Associated Press is definitely wrong if they think that US is moving away from this proxy war. It's not the case. US continues to support Kyiv regime with intelligence in real time, with their weapons, munition, money, with everything, right? Logistics. So this is a Trump's war, by the way. This is definitely Trump's war too, as it was Biden's war. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that, anti-Russian sanctions bill is basically ready for passage in U.S. Senate, according to a special envoy of U.S. President Kellogg. Let's dive into this news here for a little more details. The Senate is ready to pass a bill on the new sanctions against Russia, U.S. Presidential Special Envoy Kellogg said in an interview with the Fox News. We have a quote from Kellogg. I spoke to Lindsey Graham, U.S. psychopath senator, last weekend, and I think the senators are ready to act. They called it the Russia Sanctions Act of 2025, and I think Graham has it ready to go. These sanctions are going to be pretty tough, he said, and well, I guess maybe even this week, Senate or U.S. Senate will vote for this yet another anti-Russian sanctions, in which, by the way, main thing is that U.S. is intent to impose 500% tariffs. I mean, here in Russia, no one cares about sanctions that will impose on Russia because there are already about 40,000 sanctions on us, right? So we somehow managing to live with it. But in this particular sanctions package, U.S. Is intent to impose 500% tariffs on trade partners of Russia, right? And their biggest trade partners are, by the way, China, India, also Turkey, especially if it comes to energy exports. Even a number of European countries, by the way, are still buying quite a big volumes of Russian energy, right? Oil and gas. Many other countries worldwide, and therefore, some economical experts already are expressing opinion that this bill, if passed, this sanctions bill, will be extremely damaging, first of all, for US and for the collective West, because they will push, as I was saying before, by the way, they will push countries worldwide that are doing business with Russia to take some steps to distance themselves from collective West countries, to secure themselves, basically, because collective West is clearly become turned into axis of evil, and every other country in this world only expects harm from collective West countries, nothing positive, right? And I said, by the way, before that if this bill is passed, that will further accelerate isolation of the collective West from rest of the world. That's going to be main result of this sanctions package, in my personal opinion. But let's see how will situation develop. Maybe some adequate people in White House will prevail and stop this craziness, because they understand perfectly well these kind of actions will harm US first of all, right? Let's continue with some more news. And well, Ursula von der Leyen, Ursula washing machine, EU Commission chief, begs 500% US tariffs on Russian oil importers, even though it could hit EU members also and hit harder. Ursula von der Leyen signaled support for the US Senate bill after meeting with Republican Archduke Lindsey Graham. So Brussels once again demonstrating that they are not about interests of their citizens of EU member states. Absolutely not. All they care is whatever sick ideology they have, and that's about it, right? Because Ursula cannot know that EU member states are also buying Russian energy, and their economies are dependent on Russian relatively cheap energy, big time. And still, she is in support of these tariffs because she just don't care, man. And Brussels bureaucrats don't care in general. They demonstrated this so many times that at this point, I don't think anyone who is capable of critical thinking can have any doubts about this, right? It is what it is. Hello everyone, I hope you find informative and useful this short clip from main news update, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. It might help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you like my work in general and want to support to save this media project, you can assist through several ways. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty, also with crypto currencies, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on regular basis. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support. Thank you.